Hello, and welcome to Survivor Debrief. I'm Eden Porter, the lucky loser from Survivor Titans versus Rebels, and with me, as always, is my comedic partner and my real-life brother, Joshua Pater. Hello, Josh.
Hey, you're going to keep giving me some flair on the name. That's okay. Thank you.
A bit of flair, keeping it spicy. You know that.
Like this episode, very spicy.
Oh, dude, let's get to the spice because this episode had a lot going on, mate. I love this episode. So we start the episode just with Sam coming back, and before we get to the juice of the fruit of this episode, just touching on Sam coming back to Tribe. I think he played it well. I think he played humble. I think he didn't say he wanted revenge or anything. I thought that was good.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is, in the back of his mind, is like, I'm going to burn this place down, and it's just like, like he had with Annika, where he was like, you know, this is what I should be doing. He's got that, but I just think that that revenge plot, it's always like, I don't feel it ever goes well. Like if people get that stuck in their mind, or they like give up in a way, like it felt like in some ways Sam this episode has kind of given up on trying to win. And it's been like, well, it's all stuff now, so whatever. Yeah.
Well, it's funny when someone that's been in control then has that feeling of like, I had no idea what was going on. And I remember in my season with Scotty's, when he went home, that vote was going to be Kitty, and that was the first time in the game where I didn't 100% know exactly what was happening. And you get that feeling of like, I didn't know what was going on, and that's really scary.
Also in your season, you saw it with Kirby, where there was this moment where she was kind of in control and everything was going her way. And then when it flipped, and her demeanor changed dramatically in that moment.
Yes.
And you can kind of see that now with Sam, that he's lost his number one, and he's like, well, now I'm a bit adrift here. But I did quite like the way Andy came to him sort of tried to pitch, hey, I was saving you. They wanted Sierra, but I went out to save you. I think that was good from Andy.
Yeah, I think that is good. That can bite you in the butt, though, when you say to people, like, I couldn't tell you, but I wanted to keep you in the game. I did that a bit with Alex in my season, and a bit with Mark as well, where you're like, I didn't tell you. Because basically, if you don't tell them, you're not a real Alliance member. Yeah, like you're not really connected. And this will come up a bit later on in the episode as well. But it's hard to make that work. It's hard to be like, I actually got the votes off you. And it's like, well, why didn't you just tell me then, man? If you care about me so much, then you should have just told me. But
it's just a thing of like, I don't fully trust you. That's why I couldn't tell you.
Now, why did they give this crazy Andy Rachel backstory segment?
Yeah, like, that was weird. And then I was thinking about it. It ended up didn't materializing in any particular way. But I was thinking, is this going to be this little power couple where these two sort of loose stragglers can come together, and no one will care about them anymore because they've kind of knocked out everyone around them? They could just be used as a vote. I was wondering, is this setting up a run with them through to the late game?
Why do this scene unless there's going to be like a Rachel Andy Final 4, Final 2 or something?
Maybe a showmance.
I don't think so. I think Rachel's made that very clear. But it is funny that Rachel, like at the start, she thought he was a liability. She didn't want anything to do with him. She was like, this guy is going to be voted out. And so she turned her back on him. And now it's just come full circle to that conversation that you have where it's just like, can we just work together? Do you want to just work together?
Yeah.
Like, I know all this stuff's happened, but can we just do that? And you can still see the glint in Andy's eye of like, I want to hang out with the cool chick. I want her to like me. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it kind of speaks to, we'll get to it later, but like this idea that this season has felt really, really fluid. And there's like a lot of moving parts. It's very interesting.
Oh, and so let's just get straight back to the challenge. The choosing pairs, I like
the challenge, Eden. Welcome.
Yeah, it's all over.
Very strange.
It's all over the place. Who would you choose, Josh? Who are you choosing?
For your pair, again, you're sort of going in. I don't think you can pick like a one-sided thing. I might go like a Gabe or an Andy, maybe. Probably Andy, actually, because Andy would stuff up stuff, but you could probably get through some bits with it.
Well, that's you're doing the Sam thinking. The Sam's like, I can get Andy through, and then I can beat Andy at the end. But even Sam is powerless in the face of Andy ruining challenges with his ability to make any challenge fall apart. They ripped the bag in half, and it made it impossible to rip out, which I thought was weird. But yeah, Gabe was thinking, Kyle will get me to the end. But he wasn't thinking about beating Kyle.
Gabe, no, but he said that. He's like, who do you want to go up against? The person who's won the last few. That's who you want to go up one-on-one with. And I was like, What? That doesn't make any sense.
No.
Like,
Gabe was saying, Gabe was saying, who do you want to pair up with? The person that's got to the end all the time, because he was like, Kyle's going to get me to the end. That's what he was implying.
Oh, okay. Because I thought they were all talking about who can I beat at the end.
No. I think that, and that shows a difference in mindset, because even Kyle was saying, "Oh, I'll beat Gabe at the end. I'll take Gabe because he'll be like easy to beat at the end." And I think that's a good. You need that middle ground. That's why I thought Teeny and Soul was actually pretty good. Like
I felt like everyone kind of paired up, except for Jen and Sue, which seemed like an odd couple. Everyone else kind of felt like everyone else felt like a bit of a sort of a good match for each other, I think.
So I think I'd pick Soul. Soul would be pretty good. Or Kyle. I think they would have been the people that I would have tried to go, because I think I could beat Kyle. That thing at the end, standing on the little, like,
Is there any strats for that in your mind?
Get smaller feet, mate.
Get smaller feet.
Get smaller feet. That's all I can say.
Get the ballerina shoes out 6 months before. Get the binds going.
See, as Soul did, Soul, like, he did well with Teeny. I think they did really good to get through into that stage. Did you notice Sue was wearing Rome's shirt?
Really? I didn't notice that. Oh, interesting.
From the ashes of Rome comes Sue, the challenge beast Sue.
I did find it interesting, like the balance beam bit. They kind of ended up jumping across most of them. They're like, just jump.
Just jump across.
Like, that was the prevailing strat. But it was very close. It was very interesting.
Oh, it was super close. And what about Jeff at the end? Just almost didn't have the words. He goes, "That was instant." Classic.
Yeah, I know.
Like, there's this weird pause.
He's really leading into everything.
And then he just started he just started seeing everyone talking to each other. And Jeff was like, they just beat them, but they're talking, and
I know.
Even they're enemies, but they're friends.
Yeah,
this is how you do it on Survivor, people. Like, I'm just like,
not that weird, man. It's not that weird. They're just doing a little game portion of it. Like, okay, good job, well done, congratulations.
I didn't like Gabe telling Jeff to not speak to him. I didn't like that. No, Jeff. He's like,
Jeff is respectful.
Jeff, talk to Jeff. Talk to him. Chat him up. But what do you think of Gabe's little winning dance? Underwhelming.
Nah. Well, that's fan work.
That's fan service, and the fact that it fell off him.
Do a take two. Do a take two, Gabe. Can we run that again, please?
And I do think Gabe is getting a weird sort of edit. Like, he has all these confessionals about being like on the Mount Rushmore of villains for the new era and all this sort of stuff. But he's sort of getting a bit of a goofball edit sometimes. But then it's sort of him trying to be mean, but he hasn't really done anything that villainous.
Well, I found it kind of interesting, like, compared to the start, with the amount of activity he had and stuff he was doing. I feel he's really cooled off, and he's like not really doing as much. Well, we're not seeing as much. It feels like this middle part, he's just sort of getting through and but not really doing a lot.
I relate to Gabe a bit, because he had a really strong first couple of episodes, which I think I was in that same sort of position. Then you disappear for a while. You know what's going on in your tribe. You know where all the votes are. So that was sort of good. And also the fact that he hadn't eaten, and I also hadn't eaten that whole time as well. Like, we both hadn't eaten at all. But I can see in him wanting to sort of do stuff, but also not wanting to take any risks. Like, he's not really willing to take any risks.
And I think you'd say they're probably in a dominant position, his alliance, in terms of that. So I think that speaks to that, where, like, you don't need to do crazy stuff. You just need to try and get the people out you need to get out.
And I had Caroline and Kitty with me. Yeah. He has Sue and Caro as well. So there's a lot of similarities between me and Gabe. He used a movie quote reference.
He used a movie quote once.
But there we go. That's good. So then the reward that they went on. I liked so the thing about this that I actually liked them splitting all three, like having three different groups of people. I thought that was really interesting. And it allowed different people, and it worked perfectly because everyone had a little different conversation, and they all came up with a different person to sort of vote for.
It's also good to do that straight away, because then you do have that moment where you can't confirm with your alliance first. So you're coming in quite open, and then maybe your eyes get open to some new interesting idea that when you take it back to your alliance, then they go, oh, hang on, is this the new thing? Is this good for us or not?
By the way, that reward that they ate looked awesome. That's a great reward. Just the toasties. It looked it's better than like Survivor pizza that's always soggy or cold or whatever. Like, that looked fresh and good. I wasn't a big fan of Soul's burping.
That was a lot. There was a lot going on.
I love Soul, but that was not good. Then all the conversations start happening, and this is when the episode gets like supernova for me. Oh, just quickly, anything on the Journey Jenga thing that they went to?
Yeah, the other thing is, like, a lot of people losing votes, and I don't know if I like it that much, because it seems to not do a lot. it's like, yes, it's another dynamic, but like you kind of just want everyone to be playing. Like, I don't want people to, like, Caroline just was not featured because she didn't have a vote. She didn't have power, no agency. Yeah. So, like, she didn't really get to strategize because, like, I don't have a vote, guys. So, like, it's interesting every now and again, but to have it consistently come up, people losing votes.
I think it's more interesting towards the start of the game when there's less people and one person without a vote changes the dynamic, and it sort of stops a majority just rolling over a minority because you can change it up by losing a vote. I think at this point, everyone should just have their vote. It's fluid enough. We're not looking at pagonging. Like, everyone's doing things. You don't need to keep taking away people's votes.
I guess in some way it's an interesting thing to try and punish a challenge loss. Like, it feels like adding, like Jeff said, adding stakes to that. But I don't know if you necessarily need that. Especially because I'm like, I just want to see everyone play now. Everyone here has proven themselves to be good enough to get to where they are.
Yeah.
I want to see them all playing all the time, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. Can I just say that Kyle has such a bad read on Jen?
Like, oh my God.
It was...
What did I wrote it down. What did you say?
He doesn't see Jen as a thinker. I'm like, come on, mate. Come on.
I'm like, Kyle, man, that's not good. That doesn't give me any confidence in Kyle as a game player in this game. If he has no concept that Jen is doing anything. But Jen, okay, so the big reveal of this episode obviously was sort of out of the blue. Jen just goes, oh yeah, by the way, just before I go, I absolutely hate Sol and I want to get ultimate revenge on him. And I was like, did you get whiplash from that? I was like, where's that coming from?
Again, she brought up the Rome thing and said they got out Rome and I want to get my revenge for Rome. And I was like,
they didn't.
Rome
she
was not
got
your
out Rome.
ticket. But she also Rome. No, but she went, the wind was blowing that way. So she was like,
the wind,
but it was like, Sol wasn't your golden ticket to the end. Rome. I don't understand why she's so attached to Rome. She must have been real tight with Rome to still hold on to that as something she needs to sort out.
I love it when she was like, I'm really petty. She actually gives great confessionals. She's really comfortable now. Maybe at the start of the season she wasn't that comfortable, but now she's really sinking into it. She feels she's almost got plot armor. She's got this plot armor where nothing can hurt her. And she's sort of going through this fearless thing of going like, you know what? I'm just going to totally change the game. I'm just going to talk to Sue now and just put it on Sol because I want to get rid of Sol.
It is really fascinating. This is another episode again where we see Jen go, this is what I want to happen. And just try and make it happen and go around to the people and talk to the people and making it happen. And like, it's so clear that it's hers from the start. And she's like, this is what I need and this is what I want.
So, okay, I want to bring up a little thing here because I found this really interesting. So what can sometimes happen is Jen, in her position, if she goes around and starts talking to people and saying, this is what we should do, what about this? This is what we're thinking. You can be seen as the Weasley type of person. And it only takes a few other people to say, hey, is Jen going around doing this? Like, is Jen
that's kind of what happened to Rome, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so, but I think the crucial difference here, right? It's really interesting. And this is what I think it is. I think there are enough people in the game that want to take credit for this. And as a result, they're not talking to each other saying, hey, Jen's come up with this idea to get rid of Sol. Gabe is saying to people, oh, we're getting rid of Sol. Andy is talking to people saying, oh, yeah, this is great. I love this. I want to get rid of Sol. People are putting their own. It's clearly Jen's move.
I think
because people want some claim on it. So they're actually presenting it sort of as their idea. And as a result, there's no blowback onto Jen as the mastermind.
I think there was a moment that when Gabe was talking with Kyle and Jen and Kyle was like, it's Jen's idea. Like in that moment, I think he said that. But
Kyle did. Yeah, because Kyle didn't want it. Kyle...
Yeah, and so Gabe was like, her idea, man.
Like, yeah. So it's interesting, but I just think because I'm just trying to think why isn't anyone reading into Jen? Like, why isn't anyone seeing?
I guess
together.
I think because this whole at the moment they seem such disparate and not even voting blocks. Like it doesn't even feel that solid. Like it's not like you've got a pair here, a pair there. Like it's still so dynamic that I think that. There's not that little core you can go to be like, this, are we seeing this? You know what I mean? It's like, and it's probably getting rid of people you want. And I think that's the thing. It's like talking to Andy who wanted Sol, Andy wanted Sol a bit later. So I think it's like picking these people that you could present a good enough case that they get on board with it as well. Because like, no, we should get rid of that person.
Yeah. So Andy wasn't keen. Andy wanted to keep Sol. Andy was like, come back if it's happening. And this is
he wanted to get Sol eventually. Yeah.
Well, yeah. But this is the interesting thing. It's this threat of just telling people what the plan is. And I know Gabe does it. And I think it's a genuine tactic. You just say to everyone, it's happening. Everyone's doing it. Everyone's on board. It just puts this pressure like it's inevitable. And when you're talking to people one-on-one and people go, oh, it's happening. Oh, okay. Well, I'm on board. And then you tell the next person that like you're on board. So you can create this momentum, this sort of like domino effect where no one is on board and then everyone assumes everyone's on board and then it's just happening.
Well, it's like trying to book a group holiday where you're like, oh, well, I'll go if so-and-so is anyone else going? Oh, look, I'll check with, well, I'll go. So you just go, these people are going. We're all going on the holiday. So you should come as well. So it's a good way, I agree, that you just presume and then figure it out as you go. But you need that starting point that if you don't have a core alliance, it's like you just say, yes, this is what's happening. But I do think you run it, and I think we saw it with Sol, that it felt a bit autocratic from Sol.
Yeah, that was his mistake. Yeah.
That balance there between this is happening versus like, hey, this is the vote, just letting you know. You know what I mean?
So when someone says in a big group situation, hey guys, it's Sam, yeah, we're all good for Sam, you are suddenly painted as the person that's trying to shift the vote and that's moving the vote in a direction. Whereas if you do what Jen does, where you talk to people individually, you can create this atmosphere of, oh, is everyone else doing it? Oh, I think they are. Whereas if you do it in a group and not, it just feels like you're pushing this narrative, and it's just not. Yeah, that was a mistake from Sol, I think.
Yeah, it seemed a bit pushy. Can we just quickly go through how the names kind of got thrown out there? Because it kind of was crazy.
Idea. Yeah.
So we started with the reward group, right?
Yeah. So
and they were all, go on.
No. You go. You
I was gonna say. So we started with the reward group, and they were all like, "Hey, let's finish the job. Let's get rid of Sam."
Yeah.
Right. That's where it started.
Yeah.
Then, but meanwhile, Jen and Sue were having a bit of a chat. And what did Jen say to Sue?
Jen actually put Sol out there, and she said that Sol put Gabe out there, which got Sue on board. Now, Sue, bless her cotton socks, but you can tell Sue anything, and she will eat it up. Like she's not asking for verification. She's just like, he said what? Okay, that's happening. It's happened a couple of times in the game, but Sue was like 100% on board getting Sol off at that point. And then we have the other group, which is the vote losers group.
Who went on the journey,
Yeah. And who were they after? They were looking at Kyle, weren't they?
I think they were talking Kyle, because they were like, well, if you've got the chance, you've got to take it.
Yeah.
So, and then when reward group came back to Jen and Sue, it was Sol jumping in saying, hey guys, we're going to do Sam. Sound good? Yep. Great. Beautiful. So that was the plan. And then everyone came back, and then it got crazy.
Yeah,
so then
that's when it got crazy.
Because Jen wanted Sol with his revenge plot. So she was going around trying to get the numbers. She went to Gabe and Kyle, I think. I obviously had Sue, and then grabbed Andy as well. But then the weirdest moment, because that was actually 5. So that's actually enough.
So just to remind everyone, there's 10 people. Kara didn't have a vote, so you only need 5 as a majority at this point. So you only need 5 people.
Yeah, so Jen actually had 5 at this point, but I think she went to Rach because she was like, let's see if Rach and Sam want to get on board, because then they'll be part of the vote and then we can work with them in the future, even though they didn't need them. Yeah. And then so she tells Rach, then talk me through Rachel's conversation with Sam.
So this is really interesting because I did want to bring this up. So first of all, and this we talk about half measures and full measures. Now, Rachel got in a position where she only went halfway. So she didn't commit to being in an alliance with Sam, and she didn't commit to being in an alliance with the other guys. She sort of said to Sam, hey, something's happening. It's not you. I can't tell you though, right? And then they're currently sitting down.
She's being coy. And
Sam goes, I'm just going to think about it and say something, and then I'll just see your reaction. You're not actually telling me. And he's like, is it Sol? And then she's like, and then Sam instantly knows that it's Sol. And then he goes, I don't care anymore. I'm just going to blow up everyone else's game. I'm just going to create some chaos, which is fantastic. But Rachel, that's a huge mistake from Rachel. Either you don't say anything and you keep it under your hat, or you fully commit to Sam and you take him aside. You say, this is what's happening. We're in this together. Let's ride this out. and let's convince Sam that this is the right thing to do, and then we're going to move forward as a group. The fact that she isn't committing to him and sort of saying, I can't tell you, it makes Sam feel isolated and out of it.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to ask you. In that moment, what's best case scenario for Rachel? This half telling, letting Sam know that information. What's that best case scenario for her? Oh, he'll feel okay and just go along with it. Like it did seem like a pretty big misplay. And like you said, either get him on board for it or just do not mention it at all.
Yeah, it's just funny when you want to go, hey, I want to show my alliance member that I'm still on his side, and I'm just going to say, you're okay, it's okay. But if you're not, if it's basically telegraphing, if you don't trust me enough to keep this under my hat, then you don't trust me.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can't bring, you're just feeding me information, but like, are we working together or not? Like, it feels so fractured. It feels really fractured.
Pick a lane, Rach. Yeah, pick a lane. The fact that Sam just guessed correctly was great as well. He's like, Soul.
One other line I wanted to highlight that Jen said, which was really interesting, when she was pitching Soul to Andy, and Andy was sort of talking about Sam and Kyle as well, and doing Soul later, and Jen sort of said, well, the Kyle and Sam battle will persist. So it's like they're still big targets. We can knock out someone else and they're still going to be there and we're going to still be below that. So it's really interesting seeing Jen's future plans as well, knowing that like we can keep them a bit longer. That's okay.
Jen knows exactly who to target when. Like she knows exactly. She's like, it's someone like Soul that's going to get on with Kyle and get on with these people, and he's going to start winning a couple of challenges. He's going to get through and he's going to cause problems later on. She knows that. You know what? The only person that's so far had currently a good read on Jen is Caroline.
Yeah,
remember Caroline was like, this is interesting. She's really thinking about this game. I'm worried Caroline's going to get blindsided before she has a chance to move on Jen. But
potentially,
it's just like no one is reading Jen. This is insane. Like this is wild.
Well, and the target's completely fallen off Rachel, which I found really interesting. Completely. It's like just not in the conversation at all. What about, I think it was Sam as well who to Soul brought up Sue as the option. As one of the options.
So Sam goes to Soul and goes straight up. And I love this move. I was so happy that he actually pulled the trigger on it to actually do something.
I was
Soul. Like, this could blow up everything. I love this. So I think the funny line to me is when Sam goes, do you want to blow up the game? Vote Sue. I'm like, how is voting off Sue blowing up the game?
Well, that was my question. It's like, I was trying to work out the logic, and I think it came off. And thinking it through, I actually don't think it's as bad as it sounds off the front of it. Yeah. Because if you're removing Sue, she's like this, I was going to call her a limpet. That's not very kind. No. Attached to like Gabe and a few other people, this extra vote. So like she's this sort of extra vote that you're probably not going to bother getting rid of. But if you get rid of her, does that make an old 2 become a 1 and free up some space? So
it's not a bad idea.
Initially, I was like, that seems dumb because there's so many better people to get rid of now. But if you do want to break things up a bit, Sue's probably not a bad target because she's value for a lot of these different voting blocks.
Well, it's one of the things that I was thinking about in the game. I was trying to get rid of some of those middle ground players because they're the ones, and I said this out there, I was like, they're the people that take your spot in the final 4, the final 5, because people go, oh, if there's bigger targets now, let's just keep Sue. And those people like Sue just get further and further game. And she's got an idol that no one really knows about either. So targeting those people earlier is actually a pretty good strategy if you're one of those people just on the cusp of getting through, or you could be seen as a bit of a target yourself. So it's like it just seemed really funny when you put it out there.
Yeah, I know.
Like it was really funny. Now the other thing, so then Soul knows about the plan. But this is interesting, right? So this is a lack of information because all Sam knew was that the vote was on Soul. He didn't know
Are you suggesting that Sam was in a position of low information?
He was in a position of low information. Good pickup, Josh. So because he didn't know the full plan, he couldn't tell Soul the full plan, and so Soul didn't have a big enough picture to act accordingly. All Soul knew that the votes were on him. He then gets Teeny then gets Jen, and suddenly you're feeding, it's this Bora Bora, you're feeding back to the very person that put it out there.
Jen's like, oh my God.
So I feel bad for Teeny. Teeny's just like, she has no agency. I just feel bad for her. She doesn't seem to be involved in anything. Like, poor Teeny, man. But you know what's interesting? Okay, so this is really interesting. Teeny was almost there. She almost had it. in that conversation between Sol, Jen, and Teeny, at one point, I'm not sure whether you picked up on it. At one point, Teeny says, "But hang on a minute, do they even have the numbers to vote you out, Sol?"
Mm,
Because Sam told Sol this, so Sam's obviously not part of the numbers.
yeah.
And so she was. It felt so close to realizing that Jen must have been
Someone
in on
must
it.
have flipped, yeah.
That Jen must have been in this group, because it's like, well, if Sam didn't do it, then that means it would have to have been. So it's Cara doesn't have a vote. So it's Gabe, Kyle, and Sue, and then it's what Sam tells you. So then is it Andy and Rachel?
I
I don't
guess.
know, because they're feeling like Rachel's not 100%. So then they're like, hang on, who is it? So then it's Jen's the only other person that can be.
I guess
so. Sue, I think Teeny was right there.
Just a teeny bit closer, she would have had it.
Oh,
I think it speaks to Jen making everyone feel very comfortable who she needs to make feel comfortable. But can we get into the chaos of the tribal council?
Yeah. Just before we do, I would just want to say that was such a good representation of the scramble. Everyone was having separate conversations, and it's the old thing of having the conversations right before the end. And there was a feeling that they said no more talking. That everyone was in a conversation, and they said no more talking, guys. Everyone, and they had to stop. And I've had that feeling in our Sarah vote out, where we were all running around. It was crazy. Like, and it got to that point, and then no more talking. We're like, but we still have to talk. Like, there's more stuff.
In your experience, what is that moment beyond the producer saying stop? What is that moment that you go, we're settled? We know what the vote is. Do you feel it? How's that work when you go, we've had enough discussion now?
When you've had enough discussion, if you're still, but there's points when you go, I need to go back and talk to Mark about this. I haven't talked to Mark about this. Where's Mark? Like, and you need to run and find Mark and say, guys, no, it's changed. It's actually this now. But when you've all had that conversation and everyone's agreed, and you just go, okay, now we can sit, until you see other people still talking, and then you go, hang on a minute, why are they still talking? And then it starts up again. But it is it's so like when you can't talk anymore. Yeah, it's just like, but we haven't finished. Like, this is going to be a live tribal. And it was.
Yeah, and then it literally just became, well, they're just having the conversations at tribal.
Yeah, which
and the one thing I found very interesting, that in terms of the whispers that were going on, both Gabe and Kyle did not appear to be that involved, particularly at the start.
Which is weird, isn't it?
And it made me think, does Kyle then, because Gabe's obviously immune, does Kyle go like, it's definitely about me then, because no one's talking to me, no one's whispering in my ear,
so my name must have come. And the fact that it just got away from Kyle, the guy that's won 3 in a row, just shows you that everyone just feels like he has no game acumen, and that he's not going to pull any votes. He's not going to get anyone together.
I would love to get some information how it got settled in the end, because everyone, including Teeny, ended up on Sol. So
there was some other that someone must have said to someone, no, it's everyone's on Sol.
Well, because the one thing that I could see when Sol was trying to work this out and like flip it, he did seem very direct with people, and it didn't seem very consultative. So I wonder if in those moments it was a bit much for people, and like, I don't want to get told what's happening by Sol, whereas the others, maybe it felt a bit more natural. But how would you go in that situation of those names going around? If you're talking between Kyle and Sol and Sue, what do you think brings you to that decision? How do you think that actually works in that live tribal?
So I honestly think there was enough going in. There was enough people there going in that they knew that they had Sol. Like we said before, they actually had 5. They actually did have 5. That if everyone, so if Jen, Sue, Kyle, and Gabe and Andy all vote, it doesn't matter what happens. So it doesn't matter about Rachel, Sam, Sol, and Teeny. It doesn't actually matter what they do. So going in, I'm pretty sure those 5 were still pretty locked.
Yeah.
And then obviously Rachel knew about it. She didn't want to make any waves. And so in the course of that conversation, it must have just been like, no, there's 5 on Sol. It's happening. But because Teeny was talking to Gabe, and Gabe was saying, I don't know what you're talking about. Teeny was saying, it's Sol. Have you heard that? And Gabe was feigning, I don't know. So Teeny really didn't know. And at some point, someone told her at Tribal Council, which I'm actually assuming it was probably Andy. I think Andy might have gone, no, it's all on. It's all on. But then Andy must have also told Sam as well, because Sam voted.
Yeah, I don't know how that, but there must have been that one little one at the end where they all went, bam, yeah, let's just get Sol. So I don't know if even it could have been even in that moment of the conversation Sol was having, the way Sol was talking to people, they might have been like, nah, stuff this guy. I don't want a part of this. One other question I'm going to ask quickly is, in terms of Gabe in that moment and this scramble, being immune, how much does that change your gameplay and your discussions going into a tribal or at a tribal like
Hugely, because I think it takes away the nervous energy that you would usually have, and you're able to play the game just really clearly and go, okay, I can see where all the pieces are, and you're a bit more confident in putting forward your ideas and because you know there's no blowback, so you can say, hey guys, this is what's happening, or Sue, don't use it. The fact that Sue didn't play her idol is crazy because her name was out there.
Did
and
she?
It could have happened.
I did not get a sense at all that Sue was like knew or was worried at all. It did not.
So at one point, Gabe was looking at Sue, going, "No, you're fine." He was like, was like saying, "No, 100%, you're good." And Sue just completely just trusts Gabe in this game, which is crazy. But it ended up being. Could Sol have done anything? Like once, I feel like, first of all, I think Sam putting the target on Sue was probably not great. I think he probably needed
put it on Kyle.
Kyle, and just really play up that.
I think the only way Sol could have got away with this is building a more compelling case. So he needed to be like, we have to get Kyle. He's going to steamroll. He's won all these challenges. We've got a shot now. Don't miss this chance. Like, I think you've got to give more of a compelling case rather than like, oh, we've got to do this. Like, I think that to me is the only thing that Sol could have done is really, and I think people could get behind a Kyle vote. Like, they've sort of said it. So I just don't know why he sort of fell off.
I think the other thing Sol could have done, Sol needed to figure out who put his name out there first. Because if he had got to the bottom of that, like if he'd gone back to Rachel and put pressure on them and then talked it through and then figured out that it was really like Jen sort of putting it out there, if he'd got to that and then been able to flip, because this has happened before where you just flip the script and you just go,
hey, Jen's doing this.
Jen has talked to every single one of you guys, and she's the one pulling the strings, and she's the one turning on me. I thought I was friends with her. She's really good at this game. And everyone's like, you know what an easy vote would be now? Jen. You know what? And that's Sam blowing up the game and Jen going home. But she's just got such good relationship management. Like, Jen's just impenetrable. She's Teflon. She's Teflon Jen.
Teflon Jen. The other interesting thing was no love from Rach. Like Sol saving her with the advantage the other week didn't pay off at all.
Doesn't buy anything,
at all.
I know.
No.
And that's the game. That's Survivor, man. You do a favor, you get burnt.
Yeah.
That's it. Josh, who ruffled feathers?
Who ruffled some feathers?
It was to rustle feathers, ruffle feathers.
Thank you.
I think it's an easy one. It's got to be Sam, right?
Oh, do you think Sam? I thought Jen maybe. No, Jen.
Sam literally went in to tell Sol. Like, Jen made a plan happen, but Sam was literally going in to make stuff happen and to stuff people.
Yeah, so probably Sam. Yeah, you're probably right, because he really did. He wanted to blow the plan up. He wanted to blow the plan up. Yeah,
you said rustle feathers.
Yeah, correct. So I think he's rustling feathers, and Jen's got her way. If it had gone a different way, I think Jen she's spinning and grinning. I think. Do you agree with that?
Jen?
Yeah, she's spinning and grinning.
Spinning ring.
Yeah, 100%. Again, it's this discussion, and we see the confessional her going like, no, this is what I want to happen. And then she just starts getting in people's ears, and it comes off again. I think she's playing crazy well that every time she's been like, I want this to happen, and it's played out.
The fact that is she getting in a position where she's going to get to a point where people are like, well, Jen's been doing this the whole game, and it is actually known, and everyone was just keeping it around as a shield.
Well, the crazy thing, it's like she doesn't seem to have this core alliance. Like, she's really friendly with people and just using people around her, orbiting around her really successfully.
I don't know, man. Caroline's the only one I think could really turn the tables, because Caroline knows. But the thing is, the blue tribe, there's too many of them left. They need to be whittled down a little bit, I think. So it'll be very interesting to see where the cards lie. And
see where the targets come back on people, because they just disappeared tonight.
I'm really want to see the next episode now. Like, I want to see how it, like, it's great. It's really fired up. I'm really loving this season. It's good. I think that's everything, Jay. Is that everything?
I think it's everything. I do just want to say it is a shame that the Sol train has left the station.
Man. We loved Sol. We were just getting on board the Sol train.
It has left the station.
Sol train has left Australia. Pour one out for Sol. We love Sol.
Sol
we got on Sol. Sol was absolutely fantastic. Bringing back season 50. #Sol.
Yeah, just checking who had a bad night.
I think Sol had a pretty.
I think it was
good
Sol.
night.
Pretty bad night.
Yeah.
Just a reminder as well.
Like
make
and
sure you
subscribe.
share the show. Tell your mates who watch Survivor to tune in. That's how you grow stuff like this in our first season. So yeah, thanks
just
for
subscribe.
listening,
Subscribing would be great.
It would be.
Like, yeah, get
on all
hit
your
that
channels.
Subscribe button.
Leave
Come
those
on,
reviews on Spotify.
You out there. Do it. This is like 4D. But yeah, thank you very much, Josh. Let's talk Survivor next week.
Let's do it.
And have some more fun. Thanks, guys. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.